like I said, I'm a king of college basketball. I won the bracket challenge. This is the first time since I want to say 2014 when I had UConn winning it all, or maybe it's 2012. One of those years I had them winning it all, that I've gotten the national champion right. So it's finally time for me to gloat a little bit. And man, look, WrestleMania was fun. Don't get me wrong. Cool. Awesome. I love it all. But this fucking Final Four, talk about three blue bloods and then also a team that is borderline blue blood in Villanova.
No, we can, if we're starting in that semifinal matchup, I want to start with the fact that Villanova had the application in to become a blue blood, and that application is null and void now because you prove why you're not a blue blood when your best player gets injured and you have nobody to back him up and you put up absolutely no fight.
I will second that and say that Smith or might have been young, I forgot what his name is not their best player. Colin Gillespie, the white boy guard number 2, is their best player. They lost their second best player, and that just ended it all there. But this Kansas team, like we'll talk about them here in a moment, but in the national championship. But talk about what Abaji did and what McCormick was in the middle. It was too much. Villanova didn't have a single body in the middle that could even make it close. Villanova had a run in the first half. Like I said, like I tweeted out during the national championship, Kansas is a second half team. They're absolutely a second half team, and they kept it close the first half. Villanova, and then Kansas just came out and said, "Nope, we're still who we are," and it completely showed. Abaji, man, Final Four player of the Final Four, whole thing. The dude came out of nowhere, like Big 12 Player of the Year, absolute stud of what he did for them all year, and we finally got to see it in the Final Four on the national stage.
Kansas outscored themselves in the second half of that Villanova game. So even if they didn't put up, they scored 40 in the first half. So if you say they weren't playing well and Villanova was keeping pace, they scored 41 in the second half. They have no give whatsoever. In the final two games, because I didn't watch a ton of the games that Kansas played leading into the tournament, because I texted you, I was like, are we primed for that classic Jayhawk choke? Because it's bound to happen at some point. It always happens, and it never did. But I wasn't paying attention early on. And in these last two games, it's like waves that they send at you. And then the second wave, they get you in foul trouble in the first wave. The second wave starts scoring on you. And then you look up and you're like, oh, shit, we're down by 15. Or tonight you say, oh, we'll just jump ahead for a second. We'll go back to the Final Four matchup. But tonight you're down 16. And then you look up 2 minutes into the second half and you're looking at an 8-point deficit. So Kansas just has the ways that they could send it to you. It's almost impossible to beat.
The backcourt of Remy Martin and Christian Brown, like that's what just really set the tone, because when Kansas was down, especially that the Elite Eight match, or maybe it was Sweet 16, either Sweet 16 or Elite Eight matchup, whatever they played in Miami, they were down double digits at halftime as well. The point guards, Remy Martin and Christian Brown, just slowed the game down, tempo did their direction, and made the opposing team's guards just do what they didn't want to do. We'll talk about the obvious national championship in a second, how they affected Caleb Love. But, man, those two guards just came out firing. You have Abaji on the wing. You have Lightfoot, a fucking fourth-year Mitch Lightfoot guy who basically looks like he should be a Duke guy, of how white he is and how lengthy he is. And then McCormick in the middle, just like, look, I give Joel Embiid a lot of shit, but that is the Joel Embiid dominant force inside, where defensively he'll block every single shot and you can't guard him in the post because how strong he is, type of player.
The teams that you kind of looked at and thought had a realistic shot when we made it down to the Final Four teams in Kansas, North Carolina, and Duke, I was realizing in that semifinal round how big these guys are. It doesn't look like you're watching 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. It looks like you're watching grown-ass men playing the NBA, except they're wearing a college uniform.
And that's the blue bloods for you.
Yeah, Duke had so much size. Kansas has so much size, and you can tell that's why Villanova isn't quite a blue blood, because they don't recruit that caliber of player. Villanova is the school where you get the 3 to 4 year guys that have a season that they've had experience in the tournament, to where now you maybe build off of that. But no, I think Villanova did what they probably were set out to do. They were pretty much set up for failure at that point of the tournament. You'd lived yourself long enough. It was time to get put out of your misery.
Yeah, after losing your second best player, it was too big of an uphill battle.
Yeah, and then on the other side, we had the first meeting of the Tobacco Road in the NCAA
The
tournament.
second best game of the year outside of the game we just watched.
Yeah.
My word.
It was never let up for a second. And
oh my gosh. It was lean forward, eyes on the TV screen for the last 8 minutes. This is everything you could have wanted in the first ever Duke UNC March Madness battle, and especially in the Final Four. Coach K's last run, all that on and on and on. And man, oh man, does North Carolina have a one-up on Duke forever?
Coach K needs to start paying a toll on that Tobacco Road now.
Oh man, it doesn't matter what North Carolina did tonight. It did not matter at all. They won their national championship on Saturday. They could have got their ass kicked tonight, but they ended Coach K's career at home, and they ended Coach K's career in general. One of the greatest coach. I don't say he's the greatest because I still think John Wooden is number one, but I think he is number two at this point. And one of the greatest coaches of all time's career has been ended at home and in general by his arch rival. And it's like I said, North Carolina forever has a one-up on Duke.
Loss too. North Carolina was his first loss as the head coach of Duke.
First loss and final loss. Yeah, it's a full circle. They say sports comes full circle, and it could be more true. I did not want Duke to win. I didn't. I'm not a Duke guy. I like some of their players. Don't get me wrong. I love the JJ Redicks of the world. Love the Grant Hills. But I'm not a Coach K guy for whatever reason. I'm not saying I'm a Tar Heel guy either, but it was kind of bittersweet after all of the love he got. And the Duke players not shaking their hands. I mean, it was one thing after the other with these guys. It felt like that game felt so big, so big. That game had so many eyes on it, so many scouts, so many North Carolina, Duke, whatever you can call it, alumni were all just batting at one another just for this one game to have ultimate bragging rights. Like I said, North Carolina can lose every single game for the rest of the time against Duke, and it will not matter. They retired one of the greatest coaching careers of all time.
Yeah, and the way that they did it to where they had to play a perfect second half and they frustrated Coach K. You could see him screaming at the referees. It seemed a little like this Coach K run seemed slimy from the very beginning, starting from the end when they lost to North Carolina at the end of the regular season. And he chastises the student section that was at the game where, puts all of the blame for that loss on the players, by the way, which they have part in it, but also the coach should take some blame of it. Coach K doesn't do that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm with you with not really liking coaches. I understand that he's got a very good pedigree and is probably the best Olympic coach. He's the only guy that's ever coached it twice with the NBA players. So best Olympic pedigree of all time. But yeah, I'm glad that he's not going to be on the sidelines. Well, at least we don't think he's going to be on the sidelines. What are the odds that you give him that he pulls up with Tom Brady? I'm almost putting it at negative odds at this point.
I think he's done. John Shire, who I remember watching play, John Shire, he was an absolute bucket for like the 2009-2008 Duke Blue Devils, and he's going to be the head coach now. I think because look, let's be honest here, that team was very talented, but Coach K lost a step. I know it's a hot take. Coach K did not. You could tell Coach K did not fully have as much at the end of his career as much as the beginning, whether it be the success, missing the tournament last year, or whatever it may be. Like you could tell his career was going down. And I think it's in the best interest of Duke to even go with John Shire. Like it's time to move past the legacy that he left, because it's no doubt there's a huge legacy he built, and it may never be touched again. But you have to move past it. And oh man, they had Duke is one of those programs. North Carolina kind of is that a little bit, but it's the one and done school now, and it's going to be even more with and. You had Banchero, who was an absolute stud, who was already 1 foot out the door in the NBA draft. He's going to be a top 5 pick. You had Jasper, I think it was Rouch or something, who was the number one guard, who was number one shooting guard, who just absolutely shot the lights out of the ball. Most of those guys, like I said, move already looking towards the future. That's just the way college basketball is now. And North Carolina, look, we can talk Duke this, Duke that, Duke this. North Carolina came and beat them. Whether it be Armando Bacot in the middle with an absolute busted up ankle, just absolute dominating the paint, whoever he was facing against, except David McCormick for Kansas. And then you have Manic, the fucking white boy from Stillwater, Oklahoma, who transferred a grad transfer from OU, who just came in and just shot the lights out of the ball. And then you have a guy who I think is going to be a top 10 pick in next year's draft, Caleb Love, who just came out and just shot the lights out of the ball. He stuck the final dagger. He did the Arya Stark into the dagger of the White Walker and Coach K in the bag. He ended it all with that 3 to go up 4 with 10 seconds left. It was right there and there. But this North Carolina team, at some point, this team wasn't a team that was a cusp bubble team. Like, they were right there all the way to the end of the year. They had to have a big ACC tournament run, which they did. They had to have a big end-of-regular season, which they did, and to get there, and they more than deserved where they needed to be.
Yeah, before we move on from the semifinals, I do want to point out the fact that these games were eerily similar to the year prior. The Gonzaga UCLA game was an absolute bloodbath that we had an epic finish. And the Baylor game, just there was no competition for Baylor. They absolutely dominated their semifinal matchup. Wasn't necessarily as big of a gap in that Villanova-Kansas game, but Kansas was never in doubt or in pressure. So the semifinal was similar. But then you get to the final round and an 8 seed in North Carolina. A lot of people are actually looking at them as the favorite because for whatever reason, they just felt like North Carolina was on the hot streak, and they were. They rode their hot streak pretty much all the way from that win against Duke at the end of the regular season. That was where they drove most of their momentum from. I'm looking up the name real quick because I want to make sure that I get it right. Baco. I want to mention the fact that
Armando Bacot, yeah,
Bacot, 6 double-doubles. Every single round of the tournament.
The dude put up Bill Russell numbers. When I say Bill Russell numbers, I'm talking about 10 points and 25 boards. Like, the shit was unreal. And look, Bacot, at the end of the game, twisted his ankle. I'm looking at a replay on my phone. Apparently, it looked like there might have been a loose floorboard that rolled his ankle that I'm looking at right now, the video with. It's a little iffy. The angle's a little tough. And he had the previous ankle injury, but if there's a loose floorboard, that's a tough way to lose your big man. But it's not like it really mattered that much with it. I mean, it mattered. Don't get me wrong, it mattered, but it was a close game throughout. Bacot, that one little small thing, I don't think would have adjusted that game that much. But yeah, Bacot just absolute fucking animal in the middle, man. Like I said, him and McCormick dominated every single round of the tournament until the national championship because of the presence by Bacot. He could not dominate in the middle. That's why North Carolina got that massive lead in the first half, the 60-point lead. Kansas tried to do what they did to Villanova against North Carolina, and that was driving the post, get McCormick the ball, get Abaji off the dribble, and just work inside. And with a North Carolina team that is just as big, they don't run as deep, but they're just as big. That just wasn't going to work.
Yeah, it's almost terrible in these situations, but having the lead at halftime, especially in a college national championship game, it's almost like the 2-goal lead in hockey. It's the most dangerous lead because when you give up even part of that, it almost means that you're going to be right back up to a tie ball game. And Kansas, right from the jump of the second half, cut the lead in half. And from then on, it was a slugfest. Kansas, it was just almost like they were feeling them out in the first half. Kind of boxer, Floyd Mayweather style. I'm going to lose the first few rounds. You're going to get some dominant shots in on me, but I'm going to figure out where I can attack you. And where I can attack you is getting people in foul trouble and getting guys tired, maybe getting guys playing on an injury, and your bench is not going to be able to cover. Even with just look at the bench stats in the box score. Kansas has 4 guys making, decent contributions, and North Carolina has 2. outside of their starting five.
First of all, North Carolina ran a 6-man lineup. They only gave the last guy a minute because of the injury, the foul. So they run a 6-man lineup with one of the best names in college basketball, Puff Johnson, coming off the bench. For those that are basketball knowledge, Cam Johnson, who plays for the Phoenix Suns, also went to North Carolina. That's his younger brother. Obviously, he didn't get the cool name like Puff Johnson. He only got Cam, but one of the best names you can find in college basketball. He came in and just started stroking it from three and just was feeling way too hot. The dude, you could tell, like he threw up in the last 2 minutes, 3 minutes of the game on the floor. Like the dude was just getting sick because how much time he's played. After a while, they were not a deep team. They ran 6-man lineup for, I want to say, almost every single game. Maybe the earlier rounds when they were killing people, they didn't have to do that as much. But they were running that 6-man lineup to the death of it, and just said, you know what, this is what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna win. Our best guys got us here. We're not changing that. And shout out to Hubert Davis. Hubert Davis is a hell of a coach. A guy that came 1 year after the second greatest North Carolina coach of all time, Roy Williams, behind Dean Martin over there. Comes after he retires, first year after Hubert Davis steps in, gets his team back in the tournament, gets him on this massive run where he beats Duke twice. He did an absolutely fabulous job coaching this team. He got the most of that team out of that team. I mean, if it wasn't for the presence of mind of Remy Martin hitting those big threes in the corner, I think he hit like 3 on the bench corner right there in front of his own bench, and between a McCormick in the middle working on Obagi with the busted up ankle, those two dudes just carried this team back into the game. And then you just see what Obagi did, like at the end of the game with Lightfoot and Christian Braun, man. Talk about a dude with massive fucking balls. The balls to fucking to not only take a charge towards the end of the game, but also hit some clutch shots. This team had all the pieces. That's why I had them as my national champions. That's why I'm a fucking college basketball betting god. It's because I watched the Big 12 tournament. I was a weirdo that watched the Big 12 tournament, that watched the SEC tournament, that watched the ACC tournament, because that's how I build my brackets, baby. And that's how we figured these things out. And that's why I'm a winner, 2-time winner.
They earned it. They from the Sweet 16 on. The game against Providence was tough. The game against Miami, you mentioned they were down in the Elite Eight, and then the Final Four game, Villanova, this championship matchup against a super hot North Carolina team. There's no doubt Kansas earned this championship, and they've earned a year off of me saying that they're going to choke, even though I don't think nobody repeats as national champion in college basketball. It's just too difficult. Is this, I would say that Kansas has been down as a program for a little bit of time. Does this put them back into that upper class in the nation where we're going to start seeing guys go there?
I still think they've always been the upper class. The last national championship was that 2008 Mario Chalmers win over Derrick Rose. That's what got me into college basketball, was that shot. I remember watching that shot and just losing my mind over it. And look, I'll be honest. I don't have a college team. GCU is my team, but it's not like we're fucking national champions every single year. We just made a tournament for the first time last year, and CU has never been good. But Kansas, for whatever reason, I love Mario Chalmers. I got to go to Allen Fieldhouse with my little brother when he had a tournament there, which was unreal to just walk the halls of that building. It was during the summer, so the game wasn't going on. Talk about a place you got to see when it's rocking, because Allen Fieldhouse is one of a kind. All the history, all the players, Wilt Chamberlain, Paul Pierce, Danny Williams, like you can go on and on. Oh, sorry, not Danny Williams, Danny Manning. And you go on and on with that list. And Kansas has always been a blue blood. Doesn't matter what they do, but this is a program. Bill Self lost his father 2 months ago. You just had to know this team was on one to win one for Coach Self, who was the Hall of Fame head coach, and a team that was just built perfectly. We're talking about a team that had some of these guys aren't just first-year guys. Some of these guys were on that 2020 team where they were the number one team in the country. People forget, well, that season that was canceled, Kansas was the number one team in the country, the odds-on favorite to win it all. And here they are 2 years later, righting the wrong. So it could not work out better. And talk about talent, obviously. They had Embiid, Wiggins, Paul Pierce, Mario Chalmers. List goes on and on for them. So they'll never have a problem with people coming to Kansas. Yes, who the fuck wants to go to Wichita, Kansas in the middle of summer? No one does, but no one goes there to play football for a reason.
They're in
They go there
Lawrence.
to play basketball. Lawrence, Kansas. Sorry, Lawrence, Kansas. Yeah.
If they would just, divvy a little bit of that basketball money to the football program, they might be decent.
That'll never happen. Never happen.
As bad as the Big 12 is in football, I think that just deviate like a quarter of that basketball.
I mean, they have a coach. They have Les Miles, right? Or is he not there anymore? I thought he was there.
He might be. I don't know. They had an upset against Texas this season, but they play on like a high school football field, and you just mentioned their basketball facilities are unreal.
The basketball facilities are literally like, I would say top 2, top 3, right up there with Duke, right up there with Kentucky and North Carolina.
I'm sure their football team can't even get a free meal on campus, let alone out in the
football
town.
Team gets shamed. The shame bell. If you're a basketball player on the University of Kansas campus, you're a fucking god.
Speaking of that COVID season, this is kind of the first tournament where we're quote unquote more or less back to normal. And I think watching the One Shining Moment video, watching the games throughout the tournament, it was a really cool reminder. The games worked out pretty much the way you wanted. You had some major upsets. You had St. Peter's making it as far as any 15 seed has gone in the tournament. But then towards the end, you had the best team start playing their best basketball. And that Final Four where you see Villanova, Duke, North Carolina, and Kansas, those are the 4 best teams left in that tournament, and they were playing the best basketball of their season. So this was the best possible outcome on the floor for the societal release of having this March Madness tournament back in a normal fashion. It was a grade A season for that regard.
That's why I say March Madness is the greatest greatest tournament in all sports, because you have the Cinderellas, you have the St. Peter's of the world, you have the Miamis or the Syracuses of last year that just make these runs that are incredible. But in the end, it's almost 9 times out of 10 the best team wins. Last year was Baylor. Baylor was by far and away the best team with Jared Butler, Davion Mitchell, and crew. And this year, look at what Kansas did. Like, that the best team almost always wins with college basketball, but you get everything up to that point that you could just so much love. Like I said, talk about the St. Peter's run. That school is the size of our high school, and they went and beat Kentucky, beat Purdue, got to the Elite Eight. Like, it's just so many fun stories like that. We are recording super late on a Monday night because I had to wait until these fuckers released One Shining Moment. But One Shining Moment is the greatest video every single year. Montage of every single year. It's not even close.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. And I want to move now. We're going to be talking about a Kansas alumni, but I want to see if you can guess who I'm speaking of. Imagine this scenario. You're a center. You're one of the best players at the position in the NBA. You're in a top 3 media market in the United States, and your franchise has about 5 players that you can consider best of their generation. And it's just very difficult, don't you think, in that situation to get any love from the media and win an MVP award. Like, you have to be crazy. You got to live out. You can't live in Philadelphia and win an MVP because the media doesn't pay attention to you, right?
Oh, it's so funny. It's hilarious.
That's Joel. If you haven't figured out, that's Joel Embiid. That's his new argument as to, not necessarily his argument. He was asked what it would, if he thinks that he's still going to win an MVP award. And he says, well, at this point, probably not. And I don't know what I need to do.
They hate me. I guess
there must be a different standard for guys from Philadelphia. I was like, man,
it's so funny, like, trying to argue with Sixers fans. It has always been Jokic. It is the media is starting to figure out that this Nuggets team is only 2 games back of fucking home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs with 2 max contract dudes not playing. And it's because of one guy. And the argument of, well, Jokic has so much help. Fucking James Harden, for fuck's sake, is over there in Philly last time I checked. And look, Bones Highland, I love Bones Highland with all life of me. Bones Highland has my heart.
He'll get good.
Get good. But right now, Bones Highland is not James Harden. That is the second most consistent player on this team right now, and this team is just still firing on all cylinders. Look, it's sad that they have to get a pity vote. Look,
yeah.
I almost feel bad. You know what I mean? Because Jokic doesn't care. Jokic, right. if you look at what Jokic and Giannis says, they campaign for everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
They campaign that the big man should win. That Embiid is so damn good. That Giannis is so good. That Jokic is a legend. They campaign for everyone else. They don't need to go on this fucking media tour saying, "Oh, I need to win because that's all I'll ever win." Because the process only cares about that. Like it's humiliating. It really is. If that's what you're worried about in Philadelphia, you got a lot of other problems. Because that team is a first round exit waiting to happen. If they end up as a 3 seed or a 4 seed, you're going to be facing Toronto, which half your team may not be able to play in because you got to fly to Toronto, and some of those dudes without a vaccine can't play in Canada, or you got to go play Cleveland, who is a very, very hungry young team that will come in and punk you like Atlanta did last year. So they are in trouble if they really think that's this hot ahead. And look, if they want a pity trophy, knock yourself out. I know Jokic is going to win, but if you really just want a pity trophy and you're that low, then fucking have it at this point. Jokic has got his sights on bigger things. I know he's going to win MVP. I want him to win MVP. I have money on him to win MVP. But if you want a fucking pity trophy to make you feel better because AI never did shit with your team and Dr. J is a fucking legend, but he came out and said Jokic is the MVP, like go cry me a river and go back to Phillies baseball because that's the only realistic option you have at being any successful in your state.
It's obvious that he was part of the generation of Kansas Jayhawks that took fake classes during his 6 months on campus. He was in the underwater basket weaving / African-American heritage studies classes that, shocker, didn't exist. Never sanctioned by any governing body of the university. It makes no sense. Like his argument,
it's just pitiful.
His argument collapses in on itself because that's all we talk about. How like the game that the Nuggets just played against the Lakers was ESPN's way of showing the rest of the country this is Nikola Jokic. He's been the best player in the NBA for the past 2 seasons.
How bad the Lakers are, but
but it's like this is Nikola Jokic. He's number one. He's going to win your MVP for the second year in a row. He's very good. Trust us on this. And that was what they were doing on Sunday night. Like, look, this is what's going to happen. So you guys better get used to it. So his argument doesn't make sense. There's
only 2 arguments for Jokic not winning MVP. One is that he's not fucking sexy looking, and he doesn't do the fucking things that you wish he could do, jump out the gym, do all that shit. And number 2, he shouldn't win back-to-back. That's the only other argument, that you shouldn't give the guy a back-to-back MVPs. The only 2 arguments that are valid. Every other defensive argument, whatever it may be, is completely invalid, and it just doesn't make sense. You're just barking at the wrong horse. Embiid, look, they never give an MVP 3 years in a row. That'll never happen. So he's not winning it next year. I was very surprising that he'll probably win it this year. But Embiid, you're going to have your shot next year. But if that's really all you care about, go cry me a river. This feels so similar to the Rudy Gobert situation. Clip me on this shit. Rudy Gobert situation where he fucking cried about not making the All-Star game. You all remember that shit? He cried when they asked him about missing the All-Star game. And then and then the next year he got put in as a pity replacement. Embiid, this is the same exact shit. You're crying about not winning an MVP that isn't yours. It's the same stuff. It's the same exact thing. That's why Utah is failing. Utah's been on an absolute tear. Fucking Donovan Mitchell's going to want his way out so damn quick. And then there's a reason why Embiid has never been able to get out of the second round. I'm going to say.
There's plenty of issues in that process. They should have trusted the process because the Ben Simmons, the guy that was going to complete the process, is now going to be out for the rest of the entire regular season, plus the play-in round that the Nets are now probably going to have to play in.
No, they won't. They already clinched the play-in.
Yeah, so they're going to be in the play-in no matter what. Ben Simmons, the guy that they got out of Philadelphia because they're like, okay, we'll fix him. He's broken. That relationship can never be mended. Not going to be making his debut. He has not played a single game for you ever. And he's not going to unless you make it into the playoffs, number one. And he's probably not going to play in that first round game.
I just don't understand what he was doing while wasn't playing games this year. If he was injured, I'm sorry. Was there something like
he's not injured? That's the thing. But these NBA teams, I know that you know this, but these NBA teams won't acknowledge the fact that the guy is just broken. Mentally, he is broken. You saw it in that playoff series where he did not attempt a shot in the fourth quarter.
He didn't attempt a shot in the fourth quarter in like 4 straight games. It's almost funny. It's really funny. Their problems over there. Both those teams one team's trying to be a fringe playing team with two top 75, or actually one NBA 75 player, another one Kyrie, who should be on that list, and then the Sixers with James Harden, who you just got in a trade, who was supposed to be your savior, and then your quote-unquote MVP, and y'all can't even have a better record than the Miami Heat, who has been killing everybody with bad injuries the whole year, or the Milwaukee Bucks, who are still there, still knocking on doors. Like, it's almost hilarious.
We don't even have to worry about them. It's like it's a foregone conclusion that at some point the Nets are going to implode on themselves, and the Sixers are pretty much almost penciled in every single season as a first round implosion, at least a first or second round implosion, never past that, like a semifinals or a conference finals matchup. If they make it to the conference finals, like that team might just
heavily surprised. I would be heavily surprised if the Sixers make conference finals this year.
I just think that entire team would melt. They just don't have the mental toughness to stand up to that situation.
Same with Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is just going to blow another 3-1 lead. The thing he's known for.
Well, you get rid of Doc Rivers, and now the Clippers are looking at being the only representative of LA in the NBA playoffs. This might be the season where Los Angeles is not going to make it. We need to point this out. I made sure that I saved this. I have the tweet. Are you ready? Here we go. Keep talking about my squad. Our personnel ages, the way he plays, he stays injured. We're past our prime in this league, etc., etc., etc. Do me one favor, please. All caps, 3 exclamation points. Actually, 4 exclamation points. And I mean, please, this one with 3 exclamation points, still in all caps. Keep that same narrative energy when it all begins. That's all I ask. Hashtag thank you.
And that was not an April Fool's tweet, by the way. That was a real tweet.
At King James back in the summer.
This Lakers team is so bad.
It seems like we kind of knew what we were talking about with the old guys not gelling well together and nobody really caring to win a championship.
Oh, it brought such a joy to me to watch Jokic just get MVP chance in Crypto.com Arena, and also the Nuggets literally target Melo on the defense. Like, have Will Barton, who has struggled like no other, just say, Melo's fucking can't play defense to save his life, never has been able to. Just go at him and drop the best game of the year on him. And that's exactly what he did. This Lakers team is just so bad. And people say, well, injury this, injury that. I hope you run it back. Please do run it back with the same crew. Please do.
Everybody hopes that you do that.
It's hilarious. Like Anthony Davis saying, what if this team was fully healthy? Please keep this energy. Throw the exact same team out there next year. Please do, because LeBron will force the trade to fucking somewhere else so damn quick by the trade deadline. He won't trade for somebody; he'll trade himself. That's how bad it gets.
Let's explain why are the Lakers as bad as they are, because I've come across what I think is the reason. But tell me why the Lakers aren't able to get good.
It's the off-season thing, trying to buy in. Talk about the moves that LeBron wanted to make. Look, LeBron, there's no doubt he's one of the top 2 players of all time, but the personnel decision to have his boys on the team to not work. DeMar DeRozan, who people were talking about MVP DeRozan, that fell off, didn't it, huh? But DeRozan was gonna was a starter in the All-Star game, was on his way to the Lakers. He said, I want to come home, be in LA. And you had a trade almost all the way through. I remember seeing it come through with where you bring in Buddy Hield from Sacramento and you have some young pieces and you have a younger team around DeRozan and Anthony Davis and LeBron, and that's a team that would be a contender in the West. Instead, you go get Russell Westbrook. I'm not going to say Brick because he already comes out of everybody else for saying Westbrook, but this team is just not good. Melo is washed. Dwight Howard washed. DeAndre Jordan got his ass out of town and he's washed in Philly now. This team has they chose Tan Horton Tucker over re-signing Alex Caruso. That's all you have to say. That team it's hilarious. Frank Vogel is one of the worst coaches in the NBA history, probably the worst coach to ever win a championship in NBA history. Like they're bubble frauds. I'm enjoying every second of it. I am so upset that I won't be able to be there on Sunday because I have to work another tournament this weekend. But to watch the funeral of these fuckers on Sunday coming here into Denver and having their asses kicked one last time to stick a fork in them on our home court, man, I'm gonna watch that online. I would love every second of it.
You need some sort of buy-in, and none of the guys that they brought in, Carmelo's not going to buy into a team and mentality. Westbrook hasn't bought into a team mentality. That's why he continues to shoot, even though I have a better shot than Russell Westbrook at this point.
It's not even Westbrook's fault at this point.
No,
it's all the hate he gets because he's been the best player they've had this year, the most consistent. Even though he fucking jacks up so many dumb shots, he still puts up 15, 10 a night, 15 points, 10 boards a night. And is at least consistent. He makes takes dumb shots, but he can still be aggressive with the hoop. It's fucking Lakers fans just ripping his ass. He deserves better. I don't like Russell Westbrook. I don't. But he deserves better because Lakers fans don't deserve fucking shit.
Yeah, but I'm not defending the Lakers fans. I know that, the guy's been around the league now, and every single place that he's been an issue. So is it all of those fan bases truly hate you and have a conspiracy against you, or maybe you just a little bit of an asshole and need to reevaluate yourself? I have no basis to speak on his character, and I don't want it to sound like I'm calling him out that way. It's just a little bit of there's smoke. Where there's smoke, there's some more than likely going to be fire. And you've been in 5 different places, and every single place that you've been, people call you a problem. So that's kind of where I stand on the whole situation. I agree with you. It's not fair to be put all on him. And yeah, I'm sure that his family gets absolutely roasted. All of his
Lakers fans are ungrateful.
It's the worst place to be, other than New York. It's probably the worst place to be when you have a whole bunch of hype and expectation and you don't live up to it. It's not good. So I'm sure that he's in a bad way, but it doesn't excuse the fact that he does have a little bit of a part to play in it. And yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all that Carmelo Anthony and Russell Westbrook's attitudes don't mesh. It doesn't translate to winning basketball. Yeah.
Crazy.
Anything else that you wanted to get to? We'll probably go into the break after this basketball wise.
Nuggets are sitting at 5 seed right now. I would much rather be the 6 seed. We lost a big game on Friday night against the T-Wolves, but we're still 2 games ahead of them because of the fucking hot streak. You play San Antonio Tuesday night without DeJounte Murray, so you got to get that W. You can maybe try to sneak into the 4 seed, but right now we're probably going to set the 5 seed, and I really don't want to face Phoenix in the first round, but it looks like that may happen, or second round, sorry. That looks like that may happen. And the rumors are swirling about Jamal, and rumors are swirling about Michael. That's all I'm going to say on it. The rumors are swirling. That's all I'll say, because I'm not trying to jinx anything. I'm not trying to put words into people's mouths, but rumors are swirling.
Remember last week we said that we should sit them.
I know, but this team fucking gives me so much hope every single fucking spring. Yeah. For whatever reason they do.
The Nuggets are like the best team in the world in March, and it sucks because it gets all your hopes up going into the playoffs. Also,
I know said the stat last week, but I want to reiterate. Best road record in franchise history. Absolutely incredible. We have never been close to that ever happening. We've barely ever been like even if we win the rest of our games at home, there's only 3 left, then we are even amount of home and road wins throughout the season. That has never even been close to happening. There was one year back in 2007, I want to say maybe 2008, where we went 35 and like 3. Like it was crazy. But we are much different times, and it's really, really cool to see. I just want these fucking outsiders who don't live in my fucking city to get a life. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, 25-16 road record so far. And are they done with road games on the season, or do they have any more?
Yeah, Tuesday against San Antonio, Thursday. Oh, I don't know. I think maybe it's Sacramento, and then Sunday versus Lakers to close it out.
If you were to say that they were going to have that road record and Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. miss 85% of the season, you probably say that I'm enjoying Colorado a little bit too much, right?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. So they deserve all of the praise and all of the attention that we give them, because they've been one of those teams for the entire time that we've had this podcast. We've always been able to mention the Denver Nuggets.
Just consistent.
Yeah. All right, we'll go ahead.
We'll go the other team that has been consistent to us after the break.
Right. We'll talk about the Avalanche and finish up with some other news. And we have some of our segments returning on the rest of episode 79 of the Far on the Bench podcast with Jimmy Pilato and Niko Bryant.